Whenever God wants to transform someone, he introduces a vision. The goal of Moses' spiritual leadership is nation building.
Whenever we talk about poverty, especially in Africa, all over the world,
Staying consistent. Be consistent.
we always equate it to someone having,
About the impact, about everything that God achieved with Joshua.
some level of personal.
Moses' spiritual leadership is nation building.
Whenever we talk about poverty, especially in Africa, all over the world,
Staying consistent. Be consistent.
we always equate it to someone having,
About the impact, about everything that God achieved with Joshua.
some level of personal.
Whenever God wants to transform someone, he introduces a vision. The goal of Moses' spiritual leadership is nation building.
Whenever we talk about poverty, especially in Africa, all over the world,
Staying consistent. Whenever God wants to transform someone, he introduces a vision. The goal of Moses' spiritual leadership is nation building.
whenever we talk about poverty, especially in Africa, all over the world,
Staying consistent.
Hello everyone. Hello, great to meet you guys. Welcome to our session today. Great to have you guys. I see Mr. Francis joining us. Hello everyone. Hello, great. I see Godson, good evening. I see Marcelina. Your anticipation is fully over. We are here live once again. Welcome, Victory Bumi. Please, can you type into the comments and tell us where you are joining from? We would like to connect with you. If you can hear me, if the volume is okay today, if the sound is okay today, please comment. Hello, Promise Ogechuku. Hi, Natanya, joining from UK. We need sound. Victory, do you have sound now? Can we confirm if we have sound? Okay, awesome. Awesome, great to have you guys today. Peruzzi. Hey, I am joining from the UK. Welcome. Great to have you. Great to have you guys. So please, if you are joining this session now, oh, awesome. The sound is clear. We can hear you clearly. Thank God. Okay, hi. Joining from Nigeria, Ayotunde Aboderin. Yes, the sound is great. Thank you, Victory. So please, I would like you guys, if you are just joining the session now, I would like you to, quickly, share, take the link. Yeah, you can share from the YouTube, share on your status, share on your different social platforms. I believe tonight's conversation is going to, help someone to go further, faster in pursuing the dream that God has placed in their hearts. So I want you guys, Promise Ogechuku, thank you joining from Canada. Thank you for joining us. Please, guys, let's continue to share. This is going to be another powerful session. I know last week's conversation was a bit scrambled, but I've decided with the team that we are going to do a recording for that and make it available for you guys. So also remember to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can get the notice as soon as we upload that conversation. Thank you. Let's keep sharing. Let's keep sharing. Send to someone who needs to hear this. Okay. Let's dive right into it. Remember why the conversation is going on. If you have any question you would like to ask, please, you can put it in the comment box. By the end of the conversation, I will try as much as possible to answer those questions, and we can also reply you in the comments. So go ahead. Thank you, Chamaka Ndulue. Good evening to you joining from Anambra. You are welcome. You're welcome. I hope you guys are going to have a great session today. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing the part 2 of the teaching, how to build your dream and avoid failure. We started this conversation last week on how to build your dream and avoid failure, and today we are going further to discuss the part 2 of this series. Once again, I want to apologize for what happened last week in terms of the sound. We are going to record a separate conversation for the very first conversation of this series and make it available to everyone by this weekend. So stay tuned. I believe we shared powerful lessons in that conversation that no one needs to miss. Okay, so remember to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and then of course keep inviting people. Let's have more people join this conversation tonight, so that we can have a lot of dreamers making positive changes, not just in their life but in their communities. Okay. One takeaway for me in the last session that we had last week Tuesday is the fact that your dream doesn't fail because of what is wrong outside of you. Okay. Your external difficulties, your external challenges, your external problems are not the reason why dreams fail. Dreams fail based on what is inside of you. Okay. Another way I put it last week is that your internal realities are what shapes and controls your external realities. So that means that if you want to make visible change outside you, if you want to make powerful change, if you want to impact your environment, if you want to see your dreams come to life, you have to begin from the inside. And I said something very powerful last week, that our inside, who we are, our mindset, what I call the framework, has gone a long way to decide what happens outside of you. Okay. And one example I gave last week is that if you go to a bakery where they are molding bread, or if you have visited a site where they are building and you see those who are molding blocks or bricks, they first of all have a mold. Okay. And what happens is that once they bring out the mold, they put their cement or they put their flour, if they are making bread, into that mold. What happens is that when it properly sets, whatever goes into that mold takes the shape of that mold. Okay. And I said last week that your life is like a mold. Your inside is like a mold. The way you think, the way you interpret things, the way you respond to things and activities around your life, those things are like molds. Okay. And what happens is that if you don't take care of redefining your mold, if you don't take care of realigning your mold, what happens is that at the end of the day, the external realities, in as much as you want to see something different, they will always align and agree with the mold that you have inside of you. So before you set out to achieve a dream, ask yourself, the mold that I currently have, my internal realities, will it be able to accommodate my dream? Because sometimes your dream comes and it is aborted. Your dream comes and it is aborted because it is not able to fit into the mold. So while you have a great vision, why God has shown you things that He wants to do with your life, your internal realities must match with the pictures that you see about those dreams. If not, you will keep struggling. You keep trying to ask yourself, why are my dreams not coming true? Ask yourself the things you imagine about life. The thoughts, the things you think about life, the way you interpret your experiences, the things that happen, the way you respond to challenges. By the time opportunities come before you, you are only going to respond or choose not to respond based on how you see life, based on how you interpret, based on how your mold, has formed your perception about what happens around you. And that is why before you set out to pursue a dream, before you set out to pursue a goal, you must make sure that your internal realities, matches, the goal or the vision or the dreams that you want to pursue. And you remember the 10 spies in the Bible, when they were sent to spy, the promised land, when they went to Canaan. The funny thing is that they went there, they got the fruit, they saw the fruit, they saw the land. They saw the land was flowing with milk and honey. They confirmed that everything about the prophecy, everything that was told them about the land, they confirmed it. But once again, they say that they were like grasshoppers, before the giants, that the land was filled with giants. So you see that their self-perception, their self-image, their understanding, of the situation was based on how they see themselves. So he said that we were like, how did they enter the giant's eye to know what they looked like? But you see, because of their internal realities, it made them to interpret their experience, their environment, simply through the eyes that is already formed on their inside. Okay? So understand that no challenge outside you is bigger. No problem outside you is bigger. The only thing that is so big, powerful enough to stop you from realizing your dream is how you feel inside of you. I call them your internal realities. I call them your mood, your framework. They are already predefined to affect your choices, to affect the way you respond to life. And if you can be intentional about identifying those modes, identifying those perceptions, identifying those mindsets, you are going to prepare yourself to move further and faster in your dream. Today, I would like to focus on the need to build the right capacity for your dream. Okay, I found this the one of the keys missing gap between your dream and your reality. Okay, so whenever you look at your dream, I want you to imagine a big gap between your dream and your reality. Okay, this is who you are now, and this is who you want to be. Your ability to fill in that gap and bring into reality now, or as you walk towards your dream, what your dream looks like, your ability to bring it into your present reality is what prepares you to embrace that dream. Okay, so everyone dreams, everyone has a dream, but the question is, how many of those dreamers are prepared for what they are dreaming about? Okay, so it means that it is not just enough to imagine things to be better. It is not just enough to imagine to build a great business. It is not just enough to imagine a great relationship. Whatever it is that you have set your mind to do, it is not just enough to imagine it. You have to prepare for it. You have to bring yourself to the point where you have developed the capacity, you have developed the knowledge, you have developed the skill to be able to make that dream come to a reality. Okay, so when a dream lacks capacity, what happens is that it becomes a burden. It crushes instead of building. So if you are pursuing your dream and you are always coming to a point where you feel like maybe this is becoming a burden to me, maybe this is becoming, something very stressful, in going about it, in achieving my set goals and set tasks, maybe you need to ask yourself, have I really built capacity for this dream? Am I really building the capacity for this dream? Do I have the right knowledge? Do I have the right skill? Do I have the right emotional disposition to make this dream come to pass? I've found that most times that what brings exhaustion, what breeds exhaustion in the pursuit of your dream is not always linked to the problem itself or the size of the problem, but to your capacity, your knowledge, the level of your emotional intelligence, how prepared you are to handle those problems while pursuing your dream. Okay, if we look at the biblical example of David, okay, David was anointed as a boy, but he didn't become king as a boy. He went through a process that built his capacity. Okay, so from being anointed to of course he continued his shepherding that he was doing when God met him, and from there he went into battle with Goliath. It brought him to some set of responsibilities and tasks. Okay, from there he left, and then he had followers, people who followed him. One thing that was very, very surprising in that story, which is a great model for whatever I do in leadership today, was that when David left, because he was running away from Saul, the Bible said that the people who followed him are people who owed debts, people who had problems, people who had challenges, the poor. If you read the profile of the people that went with David, you will discover that those are not profiles of greatness. I mean, you are trying to be a king. You need strong people around you. You need soldiers. You need an army. You need rich people around you who are going to finance whatever you want to do. Most times we even look at our life, in comparison with our dream, and we keep asking ourselves, okay, how am I going to fund this dream? How am I going to get like minds, people who have the capacity? I often found myself, in that place. And it was a scripture that God used to correct that. Okay, I kept on asking myself, why do I attract certain kinds of people in order to build the dream? And God took me to David and showed me the life of David. That even when David was building his dream, he attracted the poor. He attracted the people who looked like they didn't have direction. But what happened was that he started giving them direction. He started giving them dream. He turned those poor guys into rich people. He turned those poor guys into soldiers. And then he became a king. So all those processes that David went through helped him to build the capacity for what he is going to accomplish. Okay? Whenever I think about the story of pursuing dreams, whenever I think about the story, of building your leadership capacity, Mandela never ceases to appear in my mind. Mandela has a great story. In fact, at each stage of his life are case studies upon case studies of real leadership lessons. I'm looking forward that one day we are going to have, a specific conversation on the life of Mandela. He continues to be one of the key leadership influences in my life, and I'm constantly looking at him, trying to learn his different strategies and different approach to leadership. Now, one of the things that Mandela did when he was locked up in prison for 27 years, was that he enrolled in what I will call, the University of Leadership. He started training himself and preparing himself for leadership. Okay, I mean, he was a law student. He has graduated and practicing law before they took him to prison. But when he went into prison, I find a correlation between him and Joseph. He didn't go into despair. He didn't get discouraged about the movement. He didn't say, oh, is this what I get after trying to invest my life to liberate my people? No. It reinforced his ideal. It reinforced his vision. It reinforced his dream. And while in prison, he started preparing himself. Okay. One of the things he did is that he took courses with the University of South Africa, UNISA. He took courses with the University of London while in jail. Okay, so even though his body was locked up, his mind was at work. While in jail, he was reading more about law. He was learning about politics. He was learning about history. He was learning about philosophy. In fact, he started learning Afrikaans, the language of his oppressor. It is often popularly quoted that Mandela was telling his teammates who were discouraged about his approach that, you see, if you must destroy the enemy, if you must be able to win the enemy, you need to understand their language. He started learning the language of the enemy. He started studying the way the enemy thinks. In other words, Mandela started building his capacity, hoping that one day he's going to live a dream of liberating South Africa, a dream of changing the course of history when it comes to the story of South Africa, a dream of making South Africa a nation that is governed and run by his people will come. And he didn't wait for the dream to come. He didn't lie in despair, just wasting time. He didn't just sit around hoping that, okay, maybe one day I'm going to come out and do something differently. No. He started studying and preparing himself for greatness. Of course, you can find stories that talked about the Mandela that went into prison and the Mandela that came out. We are totally two different individuals because he took that time he was in prison. He took that time he was alone and secluded. He took that time where he became insignificant. Nobody noticed him, to mold his life, to build his capacity. And this can be a question for someone. When you have found yourself in a place where you are hidden, where you are isolated, where it feels like something is not working, do you turn it to a moment to study and build your capacity, or do you turn it to a moment of despair, discouragement, and depression? Okay? Imagine being locked up for 27 good years of your life. But he came out stronger, he came out powerful, and he became the president of South Africa. You find similarity between his story and the story of Joseph. Even while Joseph was in prison, he was there serving others. He was there encouraging others. He was there empowering others. And from there, he built the capacity to manage people, the capacity for leadership. And by the time he had the opportunity to do that, he was able to deliver on the dream. Most times, you might think that wherever you are, that you don't have what it takes to achieve your dream. But I believe that even though your dream might not seem like a reality where you are now, it is definitely a place of preparation. There are tools around you, there are people around you, there are situations, there are relationships, there are experiences placing demand on different aspects of your life. And your ability to take those things, manage it, will go a long way to prepare you for leadership. Okay, so by the time Mandela left prison, his vision was backed by knowledge, wisdom, and not just passion. Okay, for many of us, when we talk about our dreams, the only thing in your heart is your passion. You want to start a business. How many business courses have you tried to participate in the last 12 months, in the last 6 months? How many courses did you take on business? Okay, you want to do content creation, you want to start a farm, you want to, whatever it is that is a vision in your heart, you want to start a school. Okay, how are you preparing to invest time and energy to build the needed capacity that will help you to deliver that dream? Okay, it is very, very important. Let me say this to you: dreams don't just require faith. Okay, I know most of us, are faith individuals. We come from a background, of faith. We come from a background of spirituality. But faith alone does not build your dream. You need to build competence. You need to build capacity. Okay, David was to become a king. He went into the wilderness. He ran away, with people who were nobodies, people who owed debts, people who were not soldiers. Okay, but he turned them into competent individuals who can manage finance, who can secure a win in battle. In fact, David was not the last person to slay, a giant. One of the people he raised from the wilderness rose up one day and also killed giants, just like David. In fact, when you read about David's men, one of the stories I found interesting, was one of his men who, went into a battle and was fighting. They could not restrain him. He fought till he killed 1,000 men. The Bible said that the sword stuck into his, stuck into his arm. They were trying to remove the sword from his hand. They could not, because he fought so fiercely and so powerfully till he killed 1,000 men. How do you take people from the wilderness where they are nobody, where they are weak, without direction, and turn them into mighty men of valor? Preparation. Preparation. How are you preparing yourself for the dream? How are you preparing the people around you for the dream? Dreams don't just come true because you have faith. Dreams come true because you also, in addition to your faith, has built your capacity. Okay, you don't rise to the level of your dream, you rise to the level of your preparation. Most times we have a lot of dreams in our head. We have things that we want to do. Okay, imagine an athlete who wants to be, a famous footballer, but you don't wake up in the morning to do your exercise. You don't wake up in the morning to run. You don't wake up in the morning to to keep fit. You eat junk. You do anything that comes into your mind. No, they go into a great deal of preparation. Especially when football season starts, if you're a football fan, we understand that some of them take time away from family, they take time away from friends. They put a lot of energy and preparation for the big game. And the more sophisticated the games are, the more energy, the more preparation they have to put in. Because preparation is not what you do when your dream approaches. Preparation is what you do before your dream approaches, so that by the time you start manifesting your dream, everything you have done in terms of preparation, everything that you have experienced in your wilderness, becomes a powerful tool in your hand to become a great leader. Let me also say this: burnout and frustration most times can link you to a lack of skill, a lack of the knowledge, a lack of the capacity needed to build your dream. Okay, I once read a story about a man who had a ship, and he wanted to fix the ship, and he could not fix the ship. And there were a lot of engineers who came. They couldn't find out what was wrong. Okay, and one day somebody called him and said, "Have you reached out to this man? He's old, but he's very advanced in ship technology." And then they reached out to the man, and the man said, okay. The man came. Others normally will come, they give out a quote and say, this is how much it's going to cost. The man came and said, no, don't worry. Let me find what the problem is. Let me fix it first. And then once I do that, I will give you my quote. And then you pay me. It's not going to be an issue. I felt, oh, okay, something different. And the man went, started studying everything about his ship, asking him, for documents, asking him for the design, started checking everything, took his time to check everything. By the time he was done, he just went somewhere and took a small hammer and just did a tap. And when he did a tap, he asked them, okay, can you try to start the ship? And they tried, and the ship started. Everybody was happy. They were so excited. The man said, okay, don't worry, I'm going to send you my bills when I get home. And by the time the man got home, he sent him $10,000 in the bill and said, that's how much you are going to pay me. And the owner of the ship was like, $10,000, isn't that too much? Please, can you give me a budget breakdown of what you did exactly, the part you replaced, or what you did specifically to the man for $10,000? And the man said, that's not the problem. He sent him a bill. And when they opened the bill, what did they discover? Because they were telling the man, you only did tapping. Okay, is it by tapping that you are going to charge me for $10,000? And the man said, okay, that's fine. He sent him a bill and said, $1. And on the bill, he wrote $1 for tapping, $9,999 for knowing where to tap. So the man is saying that you are not only paying me for doing the tapping, you're also paying me for knowing where to tap. So you see the power of knowledge. The other guys were frustrated in fixing the ship because there was no knowledge. There was no capacity, a proper understanding to fix it. Okay? But this new guy shows up. What did he do? He first of all understood what he needs to do. He had already prepared with the knowledge. He had the awareness. He had the understanding. And that led him to do what? To finding the solution to the problem. People often neglect capacity most times because they think that, oh, my dream is so far. Oh, I don't have what it takes to build a dream, so let me just relax. No, you need everything. You need to build your capacity right now before your dream shows up. And most times we do that because we are focusing on the immediate. You have little challenges. You have, upsets here. You are not prepared in terms of your finances. You don't have everything you need. So what happens is that most times you set your dream aside. You set building capacity for your dream aside, trying to make ends meet and trying to fix other areas of your life, only to show up in your dream and you then discover that you are not prepared, for that opportunity. There is nothing as powerful as when a man who is prepared meets an opportunity. Let me say this again. There's nothing as powerful when a man who is prepared with the right capacity, with the right knowledge, with the right skill, is presented with an opportunity. That was what happened with David. Okay, he has practiced all his life throwing sling. He has practiced. There's a new movie, David, on Prime Video that is very, very powerful. I recommend you to watch it. If you can, please do. Okay, he gave a powerful illustration to a lot of things, behind the life of David. I think that's the best David story I've ever watched. Okay, I recommend you to watch it. You'll be happy you did. Okay, so you see that David came to an opportunity prepared, and that was why he took advantage of it. There are so many of us who have, been exposed to opportunity without even knowing that this was an opportunity that is going to transform our life, and we missed it simply because we are not prepared for it. Sometimes we even decline it, saying, oh, no, I'm shy. Oh, no, I can't do this. Simply because you have not prepared yourself for the opportunity. Let me say this. I call it a key capacity principle I would like you to write down. God gives the dream, but you must build the vessel strong enough to carry it. Okay? There was a way T.D. Jakes put it. T.D. Jakes put it by saying that, God gives you a vision, okay? But you are the one that will build it from ground up. It's like a house, okay? God gives you a vision to build a house. But he's not going to come and sit around and tell you, okay, this is what the window is going to look like. Okay, I want the house to be painted white. This is how I want the roof to be built. No, he gives you a vision. You say, okay, this is the vision. Okay, I want you to build a country. I want you to build your community. I want you to start a business. I want you to build a car. He gives you that vision. It comes in your heart as an inspiration. But what happens is that beyond that inspiration and passion, you have to trust yourself into building the capacity, building the leadership, so that the person who is here today starts representing the person who is going to appear in the dream. So that by the time you show up, you have everything it takes to make that vision to come to pass. Okay? I want to mention 5 areas that you need to build capacity for your dream to thrive. Okay? 5 key areas, and I'm going to show you how to, do that. 5 key areas that you need to build the capacity for your dream. Okay? One of them is that you need to build a mental capacity. Okay? You need to sharpen your ability to solve problems. You need to sharpen your ability, to be creative, to be resilient. Okay, mental capacity is required for you to be able to build your dream. Oftentimes, people think that, okay, because I am a spiritual person, because I have God on my side, because I pray, there is no need to develop my capacity. I've often heard, I think I heard somebody once say that God, even though is powerful, will not give certain visions to people who don't have capacity to. If God is thinking of AI, okay, if God is thinking of designing, something that has to do with AI, will He rather give the idea to someone who is praying, passionately fasting for God to give them a dream, or is He going to give them to someone who has a knowledge of AI? Okay, I mean, look at it. Without you having that basic knowledge, understanding how computer works, understanding AI breakthroughs, what makes it significant, what makes it a thriving industry, without that understanding, even if there is a vision that is going to do something powerful, make you rich, give you the capacity to transform your community, it will never come to you. Even if you are praying and an idea drops into your heart to do something about AI, you might not be able to understand it because you don't have the mental capacity. You don't have that mental resilience to be able to build that dream. And that is why you need to create time, okay? Make out time to find knowledge, to build your capacity, to develop the required skill, the required knowledge to make sure that you achieve your dream. The next thing I want to say is, skill capacity, okay? Learning the technical and professional skills needed for your dream, okay? You want to start a business, there are technical skills required to run a business, okay? You have to do your books, okay? You have to do marketing, okay? You have to design products. You have to, be able to create value, take your idea and turn it into value. You must understand value creation. You must understand customer segmentation. There are a lot. Today, we can't do business without IT. There is a lot of things that you might need to understand. You remember when I told you guys I was inspired to start the YouTube channel? And I discovered that, a key technical skill, that I need to have is to be able to understand basic video editing, okay, basic live streaming, basic things that you need to put in place. And those are technical skills that will make the vision come true, that will make the dreams come true. Okay, of course, I had people that were assisting me, but many of them are doing that virtually. So I need to have some sort of technical knowledge to help myself if I run into some kind of problem. Okay, your dream requires technical knowledge. Okay, it doesn't mean that you need to know every technical details around your dream, but you have to be prepared with some form of technical knowledge that will help you to understand, not just what to do, why to do, when to do it, and in order to make your dream a reality. Okay, you need professional skills for your dreams. Okay, for somebody it might be public speaking skills. Okay, for another person it might be skills to teach. It might be skills to do something that ordinarily you don't have the skill, but it is required for your dream. You need to go out of your way. You need to invest time, resources, and energy in able to acquire those skills. One other skill I want to mention is what I call emotional capacity. Okay, you need to have the ability to manage your emotions. You need to have the ability, to handle pressure. Okay, recover from setbacks and remain steady when things don't go as planned. I find this very, very, very essential. I can't remember how many times I have had to start again all over again in life. I can't remember how many times I have to, start a product or start a business or restart an idea, after experiencing a failure. You need some level of emotional capacity. In fact, I have learned how to start afresh in three different continents, in two different continents, in three different countries. Okay, I've learned how to start in Nigeria, and then not so well, relocated to South Africa, started from scratch, built some level of success, came back to Nigeria again, started from scratch, built some level of success. Now I'm away from Nigeria again, started from scratch, building. It requires some level of emotional capacity. At there times I thought of giving up, yes. There are times I've questioned myself, questioned God, questioned the goal, questioned the vision, questioned the dreams and what I'm trying to do. There are many times like that. Okay. But because I kept feeding my mental capacity, I kept feeding my emotional capacity, I kept, interpreting rightly my experiences. I kept also reading stories about people who have gone through what I've gone through. Most times you think that a lot of things are happening to you, but I love reading biographies. I think that those are the things that has also helped, me to form my mental and emotional capacity. I love reading stories. Whenever I see anybody come to the limelight, whenever I see a picture, whether it's a musician, whether it's a politician, whether it's a preacher, suddenly sometimes you see a wave of people. Okay, it can be in Nigeria. Suddenly, you just see a comedian. The comedian just shows up, and they start trending. People will just say, "Who is this new guy?" He's not a new guy. He has been there forming himself, building mental capacity, building skill capacity, building emotional capacity. And then when he shows up, everybody is happy. No, okay, you forget that for the past 10 years, I've read the story of Mackenzie, how they started borrowing camera to shoot content. I've read stories of politicians who had to fail many times before they even came to the limelight. You saw the story of Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison before he became South Africa president. I love reading those stories because it helps me to understand that my failures and my challenges are not unique to me. My problems are not unique to me. The things I struggle, my day-to-day struggle. I was speaking to someone recently, and he was telling me how he often feels discouraged, while building his dream, and he doesn't know why. He's trying to beat himself up for always feeling discouraged. I said, welcome to the club. When you find the solution, tell me. He says, "Sir, what are you talking about?" I said, "I get discouraged every day. I get discouraged every day." Can't you remember what David said in the book of Psalm? He said, I encourage myself in the Lord. I encourage myself. That means that David wakes up every day in his exhaustion, in his depression, in his challenges, weaknesses, and being able to, fight through, the level of background he came from, the rejection, things that he suffered with as a boy, being able to fight through those things to become who he was. He said, I encourage myself daily. Despite the difficulties, despite the challenges, he was resilient. He was encouraging himself daily. He was building his capacity daily until he started living the dream. He didn't allow his failures to set him back. He didn't allow the things he could not do for himself to set him back. No, he was always forging ahead. He was always building the dream. He was even starting over whenever he needed to start over until he achieved his success. Okay? So, emotional capacity is very, very, very important. A person, I have a friend who relocated from Nigeria to another country. And the day I was, talking with her, she was trying to explain, the challenges that she's going through, the problems associated with location. And I said, what you are experiencing is normal. And I shared my own story with her. I said, you see, you have left your background where you grew up, where you had the language, the food, the people surrounding you, and you move to a different environment that is new. You have to give yourself time to adapt. Okay, it means that you are going to possibly learn new language. Okay, you are possibly going to make new friends. You are going to need to learn new career. Okay, so you have to adapt. So I said, instead of looking at what you are going through as suffering, okay, look at it as transition. Because in the process of moving from where you are to the dream, there's going to be a transition. And you are going to find things you are not familiar with. You're going to look at faces you don't used to know. You're going to walk into environments you have no clue what to do. You have to ask questions. You have to understand how things work here. And you have to give yourself time. I said, even though I think I was fast, it still took me about 8 months to learn to adapt. Okay, in every country I go to, I recommend give yourself 6 months to 8 months, depending on, how prepared you were even before you relocated. All those things are very, very essential. I remember what God told me, when I moved into South Africa and I was looking for a job, and I will pray and I will, speak to God. I actually got a first job where I was supposed to sell car wash. There's this liquid for washing the car that I was supposed to, work with a team. We go to like garages, filling stations, and we are running promotions: buy two get one free. One day I was there in a garage in South Africa, Pretoria, and while we are trying to make the sale, even one of the ladies in my team came to me and said, "This job doesn't fit you. You are not supposed to be doing this." I don't know, but I just feel like this job doesn't fit you. I went home that night, I knelt and I told God, I said, you can see even somebody is confirming. When I remember those experiences, it's funny. I said, even somebody is confirming that this job doesn't fit me, okay? And God said something. It's more like a reverse psychology. It's something that we always say in Nigeria, but he said it's the other way around, okay? So we normally say in Nigeria that a lizard in Nigeria cannot become a crocodile abroad. Okay, but that morning, that night, while I knelt down on my bed, praying, I felt God tell me that a crocodile in Nigeria cannot be a lizard in South Africa. I opened my eyes. I was like, what are you trying to say? He said, a crocodile in Nigeria cannot come to South Africa and become a lizard. There are things that you have done, you have built capacity. You cannot come here and you start that low. Okay, look up and do something. That is when I also realized that, when the Bible said that do not neglect the days of your small beginning. The small beginning does not mean that everybody's beginning is small. There are levels of small. And the level of your smallness is determined by your capacity. Okay. For somebody else, the level of their small might be 1,000. For somebody, it might be 1,000,000. Okay. It is still small based on where they are going to. But because they have built a capacity to accommodate more, their small looks like more, but it's still a small. And that was how I went out. I started looking for business opportunities. From there, I got an office for free. Somebody leased me an office to use for, I think, about 3 months for free. I got some used furniture. That's how I started having conversations, trying to learn how to do this, learn to do that. Before you know it, in the space of 2 years, we owned a bookshop in a mall. Okay, this was someone who came into South Africa just carrying bags. In fact, the first night I came to South Africa, there was no accommodation for me. I had to sleep in a cyber cafe. The first night by Pretoria, I slept in a cyber cafe on the floor. 2 years after that, I was owning a bookshop in a mall. So it doesn't matter the experiences and the things around you. What capacity are you building? What resilience are you building? What skills are you developing? And what is the level of your emotional capacity? The fourth one I want to mention is what I call leadership capacity. Okay? You have to learn how to manage people. You have to learn how to manage resources. You have to learn how to manage, responsibility. I was talking with some of my team members lately, and they were telling me that it's so easy to work with you. The level of organization. In fact, I was speaking with one today, and he was telling me that that he has been to organizations where people are even paid salary, that they don't have the kind of sophistication your organization has now. Okay, and I said, oh wow, thank you. And the other team member was telling her that, well, be happy, thank God that you met me now. Okay. Ask the people who probably worked with me maybe 2 years ago or 10 years ago. I don't think I was that nice. Okay. But what happened was that I have consciously and continuously built and developed my leadership capacity in a way that where you met me this year is definitely not where you are going to meet me next year. I am intentional about building my leadership capacity. Okay. Where you meet me even today, it's likely not where you are going to meet me tomorrow, because I have processes in place to make sure that I am constantly improving. I think after the next week series, upper 2 weeks, I'm going to talk about certain systems in place to help you in building your capacity. Okay, so you have to consciously be intentional about what you read. Be intentional about what you listen to. Be intentional about the things that is going inside you to help build your capacity. And you have to learn to manage people. You are going to attract all kinds of people. Okay? In building your dream, you're going to attract all kinds of people. You're going to attract all kinds of ideas. And you must learn to manage that. You must learn to manage resources. Okay? You're going to have people, you are going to have finances, you are going to have time, you're going to have, a lot of things at your disposal for you to manage. You have to build the capacity to manage it, to live your life responsibly in a way that you'll be able to make your dreams come to pass. One of the most important skills that is often underestimated by people is leadership capacity. Okay, it is proven that by improving your leadership capacity, you can improve almost every area of your life, including your income. Okay, most people who improve their leadership capacity can improve their income almost 5 times more. Okay, but guess what? That's one skill, that is often neglected. I was speaking to someone and he was saying me that he listened to some of my YouTube teachings that I'm saying something different and powerful. But when he checks the views, that he's just wondering, how come people are not really paying attention to the things I'm sharing in the channel. And I said to him, it's not just me. I'm not even discouraged about the views. Part of what I'm doing is to, document my teachings and observations, even for a future generation, not this present generation. And I told him that I checked YouTube for some of the people that I know who are powerful, who teach lessons on leadership. Someone like John Maxwell, okay, someone like Sam Adeyemi, and I've checked their YouTube channels. And when I see the number of views, even when they are on live, when we are on live and I'm listening, and I see the number of people viewing, and then maybe if there's a movie out in Nigeria, and then you are seeing like how many people who have viewed those movies in the space of 2 days or in the space of 10 days, you see why the society is the way it is. More people want to tune into entertainment. More people want to have fun. Very few people want to understand leadership. Is that not the reason why you only have few who are rich and many who are poor? Because those who are rich has understand the need to build the capacity. They understand the need to study leadership, to improve their leadership capacity, and to become better individuals. The other 99%, they like frivolities, they like fun, they like, invite them to a session like this. No, it's too serious. No, I just want to have fun. And that is why they keep having fun, they keep staying poor, and they never improve. But the other 1%, what do? They invest in their leadership capacity. They are constantly growing. They are constantly improving themselves. And that is why they keep remaining at the top. No place you find them, they will always remain at the top. I think that was the lesson that God was trying to tell me in South Africa. He said you must remain at the top. Okay? And how do you do that? The way I imagine it, in my head is you pour water inside a gallon and then you forcefully throw it inside the river. No matter how deep it goes into that river, you will still sail up. No matter how deep you drown into a problem, no matter how deep you drown into a challenge, no matter how deep you drown into any kind of thing that is happening outside you, as long as the water inside you is intact, as long as your knowledge, your capacity is intact, you are going to float and come to the top. It is almost natural. Okay, I remember when I had to start afresh in Enugu when I came back from South Africa, and I was asking myself, okay, there is a generation that do not know Nonso Dlamini. Okay, there's a generation who have not known me in the past, some of the things I've done, but what do? There were things I listened to before coming back to Nigeria that shaped my understanding of starting afresh. And that's how I started afresh. In fact, I saw a guy who was organizing a program. I sent him a message. I said, do you have facilitators? Are you looking for facilitators? He said, he used to know me. He said, sir, please. I said, okay, yeah, I'm willing to volunteer. Let me teach. He said, what course? I said, which ones have people taken? Which ones are still? He just checked and said, can you handle this? I said, oh yeah, it's fine. I can handle it. I came that day, prepared my best, prepared my slide. Okay, came into the event, taught powerfully well. From there, I got invitation elsewhere to teach. And that's how I got invitation elsewhere to teach. And from there, the story kept climbing. The story kept climbing. The story kept climbing. By the time I left Enugu, I have built the capacity even more than the place than when I left it before. Not because there is anything special about me. Not because it is just about my giftings. Yes, there are giftings to these things. I agree. But there is more to gifting. You have to build your capacity. You have to build knowledge. You have to develop your leadership to be able to manage people, manage resources, and manage your life responsibly. And of course, the final one I want to mention to you Our time is almost up for today. Remember, if you have any question, you can drop it, in the chat, and I will try, to answer that before we go. Okay, so let me quickly wrap up. Okay, the last one is spiritual capacity. Okay, you must constantly stay aligned with God's voice and character. Okay, constantly stay aligned with God's voice and character. Are there times you are going to miss it? Yes. Are there times you are going to make mistakes? Are there times you are going to do things that you are not proud of? Yes, but you have to stay in line. You have to stay committed. You have to stay focused. Okay? You didn't come here perfect. David said, in iniquity I was conceived. That is not an excuse for you to make mistakes. But what I'm trying to say is that whether you plan it or not, there are times you might not do things the right way that you need to do it. There are some times you might hear God's voice, but you choose your own way. But the moment you realize it, it's never too late to come back. Always stay aligned in building your spiritual capacity. And when I'm talking about building spiritual capacity, I'm not talking about spiritual events. Okay? A lot of people like spiritual events. Okay, you want to jump onto the next event. You want to jump onto the next wave. No. Paul gave Timothy a clue for building spiritual capacity. So he says, study to show yourself approved. It means that you have to study spirituality. You have to embrace the scriptures. You have to embrace written texts. You have to find knowledge. Find things that feed you with spiritual principles, that will help you to navigate the spiritual path, and not just what makes you dependent on other people. Okay? You have to build your spiritual capacity. One aspect that is very important in building spiritual capacity is that you must be able to hear God. You must be able to hear God. If you're not able to hear God, you won't be able to navigate the processes of your visions. You won't know when to stop. You won't know when to start. I remember in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, I was in Abuja. We were running a conference, and I wanted to run for election. Okay, I happened to have a relationship with the Osibanjo team. They wanted me to join APC in Nigeria and run under APC. Okay, I was in relationship with my governor in the state. Some people were encouraging me to, push for PDP tickets and run under PDP. Okay, someone I used to know who has, become a great friend, and a great relationship to me today. Mr. Frank Wenke was also running for election, and he reached out to me and said, I would like us to partner. I'd like you to get into APGA. So I had these 3 opportunities. I don't know what to do. Okay, my friends were calling me, I think a week before PDP was to stop selling their tickets. A friend of mine called me and said, why not come down and buy tickets? I said, okay, it's fine. I'm coming down to Enugu. I took a flight, came down to Enugu. And I think I called a few of my friends. My wife was there. About 3 of my friends, we were sitting in the parlor. I said, see, I'm confused, guys. I don't know what to do. Can we pray? That was the first thing that came into my mind. I just said, can we pray? And I knelt down in my living room that day, bowed my head down to pray. We are just about starting prayer. I just had it so clearly in my heart. He said, except a corn of wheat falls down and die, it shall not bring forth. I opened my eyes, and the next word I heard is that you must die to those dreams. You must die to those passions. Okay? And then I opened my eyes. I sat down. I said, okay, guys, I've gotten the answer. My wife turned and said, how can you get the answer? We have not even started praying. I said, well, if you want us to pray more, I like praying as well. But I think I've gotten the answer. I said, I'm not running for election. And everybody was like, we have been preparing for this. We have been planning for this. How can you say you won't run? I said, well, this was what I heard. And this is the decision I felt I should take. That was why I didn't buy any ticket. Okay? But eventually, God himself, I wanted to even buy a ticket for House of Assembly. God himself orchestrated a way, led me in the right path, and then said, it's time. And everything worked perfectly. The finance, the people, I ran that election effortlessly, building the capacity for more, because I have learned to listen to the voice of God, even when facing difficult situations. I find it very, very priceless. In fact, I believe that you have not learned spirituality until you have learned the voice of God. If there is anything you must pay attention in building your spiritual capacity, it must be in listening, understanding, I'm following God's voice. Okay. I have a teaching on how to hear from God. I think it's in one of our YouTube teachings. Please find it, listen to it. It's going to make a very powerful impact in your life. We have 9 different ways God speaks to us. There could be more, but there's 9 that I've experienced. Okay, there's 9 that I've experienced that God speaks to you. If you found when you listen to it and there are more, please help me know other ways that you have heard from God. I would like to learn from your own experiences. Okay, I don't believe that my experiences is the model. That's why I said that there could be more, but there are 9 specific ways that I've proven through my life and through scripture that God speaks to us. Okay, if you listen to that teaching, you'll be able to understand that. So how do you close the gap? How do you close the gap? Let me just quickly mention it. One is that you must be intentional about identifying the skills you need. Don't just learn skills because it is what is in demand. Okay, everybody is talking about AI, so let me learn AI. Is it good to learn what is in demand? Yes, I encourage you to do that. Never miss the opportunity to learn what is in demand. But more so, identify the specific skills that is required to build your dream. There is a particular skill that your dream demands. Okay, you must identify it, you must find it, you must pay the price to be able to have those skills. The next one is that study models. This is something I do a lot. Okay, in terms of politics, in terms of leadership, in terms of ministry, I try to find models and I study them. Okay, one thing I've realized is that whatever you are trying to do, somebody has done it. Okay, that's why the Bible says there's nothing new. You might do it differently. Okay, but someone has developed a model that works, that you can learn from and then build your own. Okay, find models that support your dream. You are trying to build a business, find people who have been able to succeed in business. If you are trying to build an NGO, find people who are running NGOs successfully, learn what they are doing. Okay, find models. So identify skills and then find models. Then the next thing I want to tell you is that practice with small opportunities. Okay, what happens is that it tells and sharpens your skill. I run an organization where almost 99% of the people in that organization are volunteers, and I keep telling them that I'm not telling you this because I want to tell you this. All my life I've been a volunteer. Okay, I started volunteering as early as my secondary school. Okay, almost everything I learned today, I can link it to one volunteer opportunity or not. In fact, I remember when I entered the university, I was studying computer engineering, but there was no computer anything to learn anywhere. Okay, I had a little privilege. My senior brother bought a computer. He also is a Microsoft certified engineer. So we had a computer at home. Okay, so at least I had access to it. Okay, but he just bought it from abroad, and then he was not really available at that point to teach me. So I had no clue. I was trying to teach myself. But one day an idea came into my heart. Why not move around the city of Enugu, find any computer place and ask them for you to work for them for free, that they should not pay you, that you want to learn. I remember the first time I went to the other office, they said no. I went to another office. The man sat down and was looking at me. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm a student. I'm studying in NSUT. This is my first year. I'm doing computer studies, but I don't have any clue what I'm doing. Okay, this is an IT firm. Can I learn for free? You don't need to pay me." And the man said, "Not after telling me not to pay you, tomorrow you now come and said you are working for me, I need to pay you money. That I'm a wicked man." I said, "No, if I ever do it, sack me." I said, "I just want to learn. I need a place to learn." He said, "Okay, fine." And that's how I started going to their office 3 times in a week, on Sundays and 2 times within the week. When my lectures are not strong, I will go there and I'm learning how to do networking, learning how to do TCP, IP. My initial stages of learning how to do website design, it was there. Eventually, I was the one who designed the first or the second website of that organization. I had to remodel it. I was learning. Guess what? After 1 month, they made me a full staff. Okay? Not like a student staff within the organization. After one month, okay, that was how I earned my first salary in life, 7,000 naira. 7,000 naira was my first salary. Okay, and then from there, From my second year to my third year, that's how it kept increasing from 7,000 naira to 30,000 naira to 50,000 naira. By the time I was graduating, I was a full staff. I think they were paying me 60,000 naira. As a graduate then, I already had a job. But I didn't just go because I was looking for a job. I went there because I was willing and ready to learn. All my life, different organizations, different NGOs, volunteering, contributing. Some I'm even doing at the background, you will not even know that I'm there. But contributing up till today, I still have different organizations I work with that I'm constantly contributing to what they are doing. It gives me opportunity to practice more, to sharpen my skills and prepare myself for something big for tomorrow. Seek mentorship. The next thing I'll tell you to do is to seek mentorship. Wow, our time is so up. Seek mentorship. Let others speed up your growth curve. Okay. So what I mean by letting others speed up your growth curve is that there are people who have gone to places you want to go. There are people who have understood leadership to the point that they can, help you learn it further and faster. That's the power of mentorship. Okay. So instead of just trying to, figure out how to do it by yourself, somebody has already figured it out. All you need to do is to just go to the person, and the person will help you, guide you, so that your journey can be faster. We are in an age of acceleration. Okay. Technological advancement now in an hour is faster than what we have been able to do in the past 500 years. The way technological acceleration is happening today is happening overnight. Okay. On top of AI research is that they are trying to build an AI brain that will model the human brain, think, act, respond like you. That is the age where we are. And the technology that will accelerate that is advancing in the speed of seconds. What am I trying to say? You don't have all the time to build capacity for your dream. Find people who have known something, who have written something, who have done some certain kinds of study. Read what they have done, and then it will help you, to accelerate. And the last one I want to do is commit yourself to a lifelong learning. Commit yourself to a lifelong learning. I'm always reading. Okay, I'm always looking for a book to buy. I don't buy a lot of more of physical books now. I have, Amazon Kindle, which makes it very easy for me. You find a book because you carry it everywhere. I remember when I went to South Africa, I had 2 bags. Okay, one of the bags was just filled with books. The other bag was just my clothes. Okay, the other bigger bag was just books. I was just dragging it. But technology made it easy for me. Okay, so today I have my phone. Okay, I have my computer. It's connected to the cloud. It has Kindle in it. So what do? You see a book that you want to buy, you buy it. It's in your phone. It's in your computer. You are stuck somewhere at the airport. You just open it. You start reading. It makes your life easier. Okay, sometimes I love reading physical books. There's a feel it gives you, that old feel. But then you can't afford to move a lot of books, especially for somebody like me who is always moving. So find what works for you. If it's physical books, if it's buying ebooks, if whatever it is, invest in reading, invest in courses, invest in coaching, invest in deep reflections. Find time where you seclude yourself and you begin to reflect about the things you do. Now that I'm talking about courses, we have Transformers. You are listening to this live conversation, but Transformers Global is not just about Tuesday meeting. We have an e-course and it is completely free. Okay, some of the things I'm teaching you every Tuesday, there's a foundation to it. We call it the transformation compass. Okay, it's going to help you to discover your purpose, build your personal capacity, build the right relationship, design systems for your life, and also set quality measurable goals for your life. And it is completely free. Okay, and if you haven't registered for that course, I will encourage you to go to our website, click e-course, transformersglobal.org, click e-course and register. Okay, or you can go to transformersglobal.org/e-course, e-course, and then you sign up, and then you are going to enroll in that course for free. Okay, so I want to tell you once again that your dream is possible, your dream is achievable. Last week, we discussed things that will help you achieve your dreams and avoid failure. The first one is that you must rewire who you are. What is inside of you is what shapes your external realities. Jesus said, make a tree bad and its fruit will be bad. Make a tree good and its fruit will be good. If your fruit is not good, check your tree. Don't complain about your environment. Check whether the tree is good. Once you make the tree good, it affects the external fruit. Most times people will sit down and justify. Why are people treating me like this? Why are people don't like me? Why? You are the common denominator inside all those why. Okay? Fix the tree and the fruit will be different. If you don't like the fruit, change the tree. That's a better way of saying it. Okay? If you like the fruit, build the tree that will give birth to that kind of fruit. Be intentional about living your dream. Let me say this to you before I go. The size of your dream is determined by God. Okay? So most times it is God that will say, like he said to Joshua, I want you to take these people into the promised land. He has already said, okay, this is the dream that I have for you. Okay? But the fulfillment of your dream is determined by your capacity. Okay? The size of your dream is something that God designs, ordains for every one of us. But your ability to fulfill that dream, you being able to fulfill that dream, has nothing to do with God. It has a lot to do with your capacity. And many of us, unable to build our capacity for the dream that we are trying to see, are not able to make those dreams a reality. So I know you want your dreams to come to pass, but you must make sure that you develop the capacity to make those dreams come to pass. Thank you guys for joining. I think there's a question here. Promise Ogechukwu says, question I need to ask myself before venturing into any dream I have not inside. Can my internal reality be able to carry my dream? Okay, not a question for me. You are reiterating. Can my dream and vision be able to fit into my internal mode? Very powerful, very powerful. Thank you, Promise, for that. Can your dream fit into your mode? What is the mode? And can your dream fit into it? Okay, Promise also said, dream is not enough. Preparation is hence capacity building. Thank you guys for joining. Please, I would like you to keep commenting on the video. Keep asking questions, things you would like to find out, things you would like to clarify. I would like you to, continue doing that. And before I go today, I want to take this opportunity to once again invite you for our e-course, Transform Your Life e-course. It's a 5-week course that is designed to help you to understand your life, build the capacity that is required, to achieve everything that God has designed for you. Okay, we call it a practical 5-week journey to purpose, leadership, and success. Okay, one of the things we hope that you are going to learn in this course is personal purpose, discover and define your life's direction, personal leadership, take ownership of your growth and decisions, personal relationship, cultivate useful connections that fuel your journey. Personal systems, build habits and structures for consistent success. And finally, personal outcomes, create real, measurable transformation. And registration is free. Okay? So please go ahead, go to transformersglobal.org/e-course, and then we are going to see you soon in class. Okay? Thank you guys for joining. Once again, I want to thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm looking forward to see you next week, Tuesday by 5 p.m. So you can always come, turn on the notification on the channel so that, once the live is up, you get a notification. Okay, and I don't want you to listen to these conversations alone. Find someone who needs to hear this. Share the link of the previous sessions, but also invite them to be here live with us. You never know who you are going to be helping. You never know who you are going to be empowering, to live the next vision, the next dream that God has placed in their hearts. I also encourage you to, listen to some of the messages we have in our channel. They will truly make great, powerful impact in your life. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joy Ngozi, for tuning in. Okay, I've read it. Thank you, everyone who tuned in for today's conversation. Continue to like and share. And may God bless you as you continuously partake in this journey. See you guys on Tuesday. Take care and God bless you. Good night.